Welcome back to part 2 of our diverse talks with Jason Anker. In the first part, he covered the tragedy, the accident he had at work, that split-second decision that led him to fall 3 meters only, and where he is today in a wheelchair for life. So that's a huge negative, is what we'd look at it. So today, in this part 2, we're going to talk about what has Jason Anker now become, because you are such a positive inspiration to us. So please share with us your story now about safety, who Jason Anker is today now in that positive limelight, your daughter Abby that you mentioned in part 1 as well, and proud to be safe.
Yeah, thank you, Darren. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, 16 years ago when I met Dante and he asked me to speak about my accident, I was really unsure. I didn't want to do it. In fact, the very first job he took me on just to watch Dan's presentation, a behavioural safety session, he made me speak totally unaware for about 5 minutes. I really didn't like it. And in fact, the next time we spoke, I'd gone back on holiday to Tenerife thinking, this is not a career for me. I can't sit and talk about my accident. If I'm being totally honest, the reason, probably the biggest reason, was I didn't understand what my story could potentially do. And when I came back from holiday, he took me out to another site and he said, look, I want you to go through your story, for about 5 or 10 minutes, which I did. Is sort of 10-minute story of an accident. And one of the reactions from the people in the audience sort of changed me, because one person said that, he was really inspired by listening to my story. And from that moment, I thought, actually, if I could share my story and it helps prevent one more person going through what I went through, I would do it. And that's what I started doing. I was mainly working with Dan and Matt Terry initially, and we go around and they do their session. I do like a 15-minute presentation. But obviously, listening to behavioural safety day in, day out, I did start to pick up some ideas about, it wasn't just about how to present it. It was like learning about my accident and why it happened and what could have prevented it. Because to me, it was just an accident. But once you start listening to the causations of accidents, I started to pick up some of the things I didn't. I did that, and then I started working for myself, going out on my own, delivering presentations. And it was really from the viewpoint of an accident story. Very typical, don't be like me presentation. And I've done that successfully for, best part of a decade. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, obviously meeting Professor Tim Marsh, and maybe said, look at accident from a different viewpoint, try and inspire people that there's more than just safety involved here. You can look at people's well-being. And I've been on a bit of a journey myself, if I'm totally honest, over the last sort of 3 years, personally, on my development of mental health and following some well-being practices and gratitude and mindfulness. And it's really, really turned my life around, and it's only, I can really honestly say, my last 3 years, I've really started thriving in life. I mean, you mentioned the MBE, Darren, and I do get quite embarrassed about it, because I'm very, very, very humble, but I got the MBE in 2015. Can you imagine going to Buckingham Palace? It was Prince Charles who gave me the award, and my dad and Abby.
Why did you get the MBE? What was
sorry, for services to health and safety in the construction industry.
Yeah.
A fantastic honour. I was very, very humble, totally out of the blue, shocked. A normal person receiving an MBE was absolutely huge. And the day itself at Buckingham Palace was amazing. However, because I was still in sort of a bad mindset, I was proud and happy for my dad, because he was so proud that day. But for me personally, because I was still in sort of a negative headspace, I didn't really enjoy it for me. If you can understand, I was still sort of in this bad place. And it's only in the last 3 years I've really managed to turn my life around, where I can, live in the present moment, don't look back so much and regret things that happened. If only I'd done that. Because, often people say to me, do you wish you'd not had your accident? And obviously, always yes, of course, I wish things were different. But now I don't dwell, because I can't change it for me. But hopefully by sharing my story, I can stop it happening to other people.
Yeah. And you can look at your accident was a life-changing event, but now you've turned that life-changing event into a life for you. And you talk about humility, mentioned it a little bit there. You are such a humble guy, man. You know, you really are. So about receiving your MBE and all that, meeting Prince Charles and all the rest of it. So everything you do is just inspirational. And so it's not just about your story, like you're saying, it's about the well-being, the mental health, everything that packages around that. You must have suffered really badly during COVID in the restrictions as well, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. And well, I'll say yes and no because.
But it pivoted you, right? It pivoted you.
It pivoted me absolutely. You know, when it obviously struck, my diary completely disappeared. But I looked at it in two ways. I had some time off because I've been working so hard for over a decade, traveling, you know, all around the UK, across Europe, around the world, jumping on flights, hotels. I was absolutely worn out. So from a personal level, it gave me a year just being at home. My daughter Abby moved in with my granddaughter, so I then living in the first lockdown. So I was waking up to my granddaughter every day. It was just what I needed. You know, when you talk about recharging your batteries, it was really, really good for me. But obviously, looking from a work side of it, we developed some, went to the virtual world, and it's gone really well. I'm obviously out live speaking again in the UK at the moment, but still doing plenty of virtual talks. Hence you this morning. I think last week I spoke to a project in Canada, one in Sweden, and one in Ireland. So it's really open. It's really opened everything up, and diversity is a great word. You know, I have to diversify my offerings, and it's going really, really well. So, yeah. But I think also what helped was my mindset. I think if I'd still been in that native place, I'd look to all my, everything's gone wrong, my work's dropped, what am I going to do? But because I'm in such a positive mindset, I just look for the next opportunity. And, I mean, my collaboration with Tim Marsh has really changed me as well, because he's not helped me just in business, he helps me personally as well.
Yeah.
My anxiety issues, which I still have and still suffer from.
This is where safety started and Proud to Be Safe, or was that before?
Yeah, I mean, the safety first thing is Proud to Be Safe. And I mean, technically, Proud to Be Safe is Abby now. Abby runs Proud to Be Safe. I'm just a speaker she employs. I obviously work with Anker and Marsh with Tim. So I've diversified a little bit. I keep saying like diversified, but yeah. So it is. Proud to Be Safe are initially the speakers, the inspirational, motivational speakers. So when we go into a company and do a little presentation, hopefully by the end of the presentation, we've left people saying, I want to change. I realise I want to change. But also with stuff we do with Anker and Marsh is we supply companies with the tools so they can change. It's great. It's great having these speakers to, give them motivation, but what do companies do next? So I think now we've completed the thing. So my collaboration with Tim delivers that part of it. So it's great to deliver a motivational presentation, but that is just a start. Companies have to do a lot more. And the customer presentation now is not just about safety, it's a safety, health and well-being presentation. So I talk about the accident, but I also talk about my recovery, because I believe that people who are struggling in the workplace with mental health, mental well-being issues, you could possibly argue they are more likely to have an accident because their head is not concentrating on the job.
Oh, for sure, right, yeah. For sure, yeah.
I mean, the importance of having a support mechanism or support network, because, I think the first guy that you met, he was the initial support pillar or support network that you have. Then you knew then that you were not alone, and you've got other people to share ideas, talk about things, and not to be embarrassed about what happened to you, and making you see from a different perspective on how, we know that falling from height is the #1 cause of accident or #1 cause of death in a workplace, and how we can ensure that, like you said, don't be like you, making that inspirational, inspiring people to be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. You've nailed it there completely, because that's exactly what this is. We have to inspire people to work safe, and also inspire people to be able to speak about how they're feeling. If someone's going to work in the morning with problems from home or whatever, if their mind is not concentrating fully on the job and concentrating on other things outside work, then is that one of the reasons when maybe when that moment comes to go up an unsupported ladder or to clip on, you know, anything, is that the distraction that's all that's needed? We always look for a broken rule or a procedure when there's been an accident, but do we ever look for a broken person, someone who's actually suffering? And it's the question that never really gets asked. And I think what we've all been through around the globe with this crisis, that everybody has been affected by some means. You know, some people have lost jobs, some people have lost family members. Everybody has been affected. And I think everybody's mind, and as we come back into as we come out of this, or slowly, some countries are, some are still going through it, but as we look to come out of this, you know, crisis, people just need that little bit of extra support, is my belief, you know. And I think we are seeing, you know, in the UK, you know, we've been looking at some of the incidents that are getting reported, and you think we've come so far. This is sort of getting worse again at the moment, because are people looking at how the well-being of people can affect your safety choices? And it was, you know, when I joined forces with Tim, that was my biggest revelation about my accident. There was so much more. In fact, when I do my presentations today, I end up going back a year prior to my accident and talk about all the things that was going on in my life outside work. So when it came down to that one critical safety decision, was my mindset one of the factors why I chose to do what I do, or what I did that day?
And that's extremely relevant in today, because, you know, you mentioned the increase in incidents in UK, increase in incidents in Singapore since we've been back to the work site here. It's been, yeah, too many for sure. And your story and sharing your story is very valuable to, you know, every time I see somebody working at height badly in Singapore, I think of you. So, and then I try and get that message over to them in some way, even to the fact of, you know, telling them to stop work and do things right. Not that they do, but it's a strong and difficult message. And with that, you know, you've turned your life around, and you don't want people to be like you, but in one essence you do now, right? In the sense, if you've had that accident, you want to go through that journey just like you have and share that story and open up, help that mental health, that mental well-being for the individual too.
Absolutely. You know, I always say, don't be like me. I've had my accident in a wheelchair, but on the flip side, that be like me now, because I'm in such a good place. And I can honestly say that if I could go back in time to 28 years ago in this mindset, there is no doubt that I would have spoken up that day.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jason, that's excellent. Again, we're going to wrap up this second part of Diverse Talks with Jason Anker, and we'll catch up again on part 3 to finish off the Diverse Talk with Jason Anker and learn what is he actually doing now, and ask a few more challenging questions. Thank you very much, and join us. Be sure to join us for part 3.
See you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.